determination of the eligibility determination panel can now be appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Lausanne by the person concerned and or the nominating national federation member. Finally, in a new provision, Schedule 11 Part C, Section 11, it is clarified that the eligibility process for this summer's electoral process will be fully subject to these new and amended rules. So they're not going to be hidden away, they'll be lively, they'll be vital, and they'll be working. I hope these and other changes have helped to reassure those of you who still have had any lingering concerns over the justice and integrity of our electoral process. So you are going to vote for this, and these will be your working tools. Dear friends, let us be in no doubt. Thomas Bach has referred to us as weightlifting as one of the IOC's problem children. Today you have the opportunity to help ensure that our beloved sport can with care transform itself from a problem child into a model adult. Let us not allow this opportunity to slip through our fingers. Thank you. Before we start the agenda, since today is fully an online Congress, for each vote I will go over to Lumi and their representative will read out the question. The online voting will then open and you will have the chance to cast your vote at the Lumi platform. These results will be announced by Lumi. Before we proceed with the next agenda item, I would like for everyone to see how this will work. Lumi, over to you for the test question.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Dan. I'm joined by my colleague Katie, and we've also got Andrew, who's the notary public overseeing the voting procedure for today. We are just going to undertake a test vote before we get into the business of the meeting. So the voting is now open on the test votes, and we're just asking a very simple question, which you're probably all familiar with. Will the weather be sunny tomorrow? So if you are a voting delegate, please navigate to the Lumi voting platform. Voting is now open for you to cast your vote. So we're going to leave this open for a minute or two, just to allow people the chance to test. And we'll come back shortly before displaying the results to you.
Up. Up. No. Go back. Yes, Tom. We have how many at the moment?
So the test vote will close in 30 seconds. Please vote now if you have not already done so.
We need another 9 at least to start the group transformation. So it's 9 votes more. So if you haven't voted, please do it now.
Yeah, thank you. So we're just going to leave 15 seconds on that vote. And I'll hand over to the public notary shortly just to close that vote and then declare the results of the test vote.
Okay, so test vote was, will the weather be sunny tomorrow? The total possible votes is 113, abstentions 5, valid votes cast 80, and the votes for yes are 68, and the votes for no are 12.
Then
Back to you, Mr. Chairman. Mr.
thank you very
President.
much. Thank you, Dan. I'm going to hand the results of that over to our legal counsel, Jean-Pierre.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you all. First of all, and before I go to address the point, I would like to thank the President to have made a mention of my friend and partner, François Carrard. For him, this federation was one of his clients with which he had attended for so many years, and including in this development. And I kept him informed, and I discussed with him the federation up right to the last moment after your Congress in Tashkent, and he was always still at this moment asking me what was going on, and he was pleased to see that it was going forward, also recognizing the challenges encountered by the federation and the hard question being in front of it. And I really thank you, and François will be with us today, and I thank you for that. Now, I have to address a specific issue in this special Congress, which to the extent he addresses constitutional changes. According to your constitution, we have a very high quorum to be reached to address any constitutional change. We are very close to reach that quorum, which is 175% of the total numbers of the members, which is 121. As you heard, there were 113 members participating to the test vote. You have to realize that it is challenging for some of the members to connect to the platform, and there are still attempts to get more voting members on the platform, but with that quorum, we could not effectively vote on the constitutional changes. Therefore, the chairman will propose you the following measures to address the situation. Whilst the few members which are still needed to reach the quorum are hoped for and are chased and are searched for, there will be a proposal to change the agenda and to address the points which do not require the same forum, namely the confirmation of the members of the EDC, the Ethics and Disciplinary Commission, and of the IIC, the Independent Investigatory Chamber. Because for those votes, you only need actually a very low quorum of 10 members, and we are, of course, well above those quorums. This will give a little more time for the necessary quorum to be reached in respect of the constitutional votes. If that is not still the case after the vote, there will be a proposal to adjourn this Congress for 1 hour, and again in the hope of reaching the quorum, which is very, very close now. We only need 7 or 8 more members, so it should be doable. So I pass over I pass back the floor to the President to propose you a different agenda, which will be first to vote on the approval of the members of the Commission and of the Independent Investigatory Chamber. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. But before that, Jean-Pierre, we have to get the chair of this Congress.
Yes, sorry. But you are the natural chair, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I don't know about natural. I'm unnatural at the moment. As interim president, I will be serving as chairperson of today's Congress. So, as you have received the proposed changes to the IWF Constitution and rules on the 16th of January this year, all member federations could study the list of modifications. For this reason, we can have a block vote and approve all the modification proposals in one package if we get the number. But before we move to the vote, I will pass the floor again back to Jean-Pierre. There's a bit of tennis here, who will give you a short explanation of the proposed changes. Jean-Pierre.
At the moment, Mr. President, I'm proposing that we first submit the two votes on the approval of the members, because I think if we get the right number in a few minutes or within the time we try to do that, it would be good if the presentation of the amendments is done when the people who will be voting on it are present. So I would suggest that we change the agenda and that we first vote on the approval of the members of the two bodies that you are required to approve today.
Well, first of all, we've got to approve the agenda itself,
Yeah.
and that's vital. So we can start with that, Jean-Pierre,
Yes.
if we may.
Yes, of course.
Now, if there are no questions or comments, we have to move to the block vote. We now open the floor to any questions. But the agenda, the modified agenda, will be applicable. Over to you.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. I propose that you submit to the vote the constitution of the EDC, and this must be approved by the Congress. And this can be approved by the Congress as constituted at this moment.
And of course, the modified agenda.
I think you.
That's it.
So let's move first to approve the modified agenda. First vote.
Let's go. Lumi, may we do that now, Dan? Lumi, are you, Katie? Will you do that?
Yes, we're just adjusting the wording to put
right.
modified into it.
Thank you, thanks.
Just a moment.
So if you could be patient, everybody out there.
Lila, are we progressing?
Okay, the vote is, do you approve the modified agenda for the Special Congress?
Thank you,
The
Andrew.
vote is now open.
So it's not this. Start here. All right, that's the first thing. We'll change that. Change that. How long do they have? How long do they have voting?
It's moving up.
No. How long?
15.
Nearly 6. That's very tough.
Voting will close in 30 seconds. Voting will close in 15 seconds.
Could you put it up, please? Up. Oh, that's it.
The vote is now closed. Okay, the vote was, do you approve the modified agenda for the Special Congress? Total possible votes, 115. Abstentions, 2. Valid votes cast, 95. Votes for yes are 94. That's 98.95%. And the votes for no are 1, which is 1.05%.
Thank
Back
you,
to you,
Andrew.
Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, and well done, member federations. You've done very well. That's lovely. Thank you so much. Now, as you may know, all member federations have received a list of appointments before this Congress, and you've seen a list of credible professionals who have experience in either sports law, including disciplinary cases, or the sport of weightlifting. So they are experienced in law or weightlifting. They all represent the 5 continents, which is very important in the terms of diversity in continental representation. The names are as follows. Gabriel Nijon, Switzerland, he's the chair. Nasser El-Din Azam, Egypt, member. Ahmed bin Nu Al-Thani, Qatar, member. Lorena Novoa, Colombia, member. Charles Quagliata, Australia, member. We now open the floor to any questions. If there are any, please raise your hand in the Zoom.
There are interventions and questions.
We have some questions, so I'll hand you over to our answerer of questions.
Intervention.
Russia is the first, secondly Tunisia, and Fiji. Those are the 3. So they have to be answered.
Yes.
Yes,
But first they have to be asked.
yes. They will be put on the screen, as you heard. You may have heard Russia is the first.
Hello?
Hello.
Yep. Good
Maxime,
morning,
Maxime.
good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I wanted to say some general words about the Congress. It's agenda about before we start discussing the amendments and propose and vote.
Thank you, Maxime.
But I'm on my way, but I'm afraid that technical problem may appear during my short speech. So I would like to pass the floor to another delegate from Russia, Mr. Artem Patsev. He will tell you what I want to say. Thank you.
Maxime Agapitov.
Mr. Agapitov, if your question refers to the constitutional amendments and not wanting to avoid the questions, I would like to propose that you reserve them once we have presented the point on the agenda concerning the constitutional amendments. At this stage, it's about the ratification of the member of the Commission. So if your comment is not on that point, I would suggest that you reserve it for the moment when it comes. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Maxime. The next one we have a query from is Tunisia. So Tunisia, please present your point.
Tunisia.
North Africa.
Are we mounting? 115, 116?
Thank you. Everything is okay.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Bonjour. Bonjour. à tout le monde.
Bonjour.
We just got an update on the number
No,
of votes.
thank you, everything is okay. Everything is okay, c'est très bien, thank you very much, thank you. No?
So has the question been answered? All right. So there was no question. So Fiji has been answered? Fiji, your question, please. Could you remove Maxim Makabitsa of the Russian video, please, Lumi? Fiji. Hello, sir. Kemcho.
Kemcho, Dr. Irani. Thank you very much, and good morning, delegates. Good morning, Mr. Morand. Thank you very much for the opportunity to catch up again. I have some concern in terms of the process. I have no doubt whatsoever, Dr. Irani, in terms of what you have said about the candidates, in terms of the background, etc. But I would have preferred that if all the countries were actually given the full profile, the credentials, the capability statements of the candidates being recommended by the executive. We have not received anything other than just the names. So without that type of information, we are doing no better than like what we did in the last Congress, where we approved the audited financial statements without actually getting an audited financial statements. We are continuing to be the problem child because we're not following basic communication.
It's available. These facts you want, the biodata is available should you wish it. But I think you have been the only one that has requested it, but it will be sent to you post haste.
Yes, but it should be sent beforehand so we can
scrutinize
scrutinize
that.
it.
You see,
Yeah.
you're being constructive here, because
Yes.
you've told us, right, we should do this. If you wish that, we will send it to everyone, the 5 from now on, from future reference when it comes about.
Thank you.
But you have taught us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the
Thank
question.
you very much indeed. Now, the next one is Sierra Leone, and I wonder if it's my dear friend Ibrahim. Sierra Leone, please. Here we are. No, you got Russia again. I'm being told that it takes time.
Can you hear me, Mr. President?
Yes, here we are, Ibrahim. Yes, we can hear you, Ibrahim. Fire away.
President, there's a couple of questions and statements I would like to make. One of it is, what are the criteria used for the appointment of this individual, either by the executive committee or by the Congress? 2, why was the previous commission dissolved? We need to have a clarity before we proceed. Secondly, I fully agree about the continental distribution of the acceptance of members of continental federation being represented.
Okay.
Of our federation. If there's anything that's going to prejudice the process of the integrity of our federation, I think that is the wrong move, Mr. President.
Thank you very much indeed, Ibrahim. Your questions sound like those from a legal person, and I'm not surprised you are. May I hand you over to Jean-Pierre?
Yes. Good morning. Regarding the determination of the proposed members, they were screened first on their qualification and experience. If you take Mr. Nigon, for example, he has an experience in deal. He's a Swiss qualified lawyer. This was one of the requests for the chairman, because the commission will act on the Swiss law. He has experience in governance of federation. He has specific experience in a commission, in an ethic commission of another international federation, and that is why he was chosen, for example, personally. All the other candidates were screened on their professional competence by the executive board, and I would say the continental criteria was there to secure and to give confidence to the member that any sensitivity across the board would be respected. However, this is no right. It was rather a policy followed by the IWF board. That's what I can say. Regarding the former commission, I mean, this was the decision of the Congress not to ratify the first proposed commission, and therefore the executive board had to come up with a different proposal. But this was the Congress decision not to ratify it. If you remember, it was on the 20th of December, and the board could only respect that decision. That's the reason why the commission members were not proposed again. I hope this answers your question.
Ibrahim? Ibrahim, are you there still?
Yes, Mr. President. For now, yes. For now, I am okay. But as we proceed, there might be further question. So I mean, see the way forward. But honestly speaking, I think some of the continental federation does not have a legal commission. So how can they make a recommendation to the IWF?
I think it's slightly off the beaten track here, Ibrahim, and I think that deserves a greater one-to-one. Do you mind if we do that later rather than this particular junction? The other thing I wanted to say is I'm glad you're better. By the way, you've been unwell. I won't break confidentiality, but I know you've made a resounding recovery from being jolly ill. But thank you very much for your question as well. But we will address that question. I will make personal notes to do so for you. All right, Ibrahim?
As you please, sir.
God bless you. Thank you. Now, thank you for your comments and questions. And now we hand you over to Lumi for the vote. Again,
on the commission.
On the commission. On the 5 people that I showed you earlier. Do you approve of them? If so, please look at the vote. Lumi, over to you, sir.
Okay, so the vote is, do you approve the ratification of the appointment of the 5 members of the Ethics and Disciplinary Commission, Chair Gabriel Nigon, Switzerland, and members Nasser Eldin Azam, Egypt, Ahmad bin Nur Al Thani, Qatar, Lorena Novoa, Colombia, and Charles Cagliata, Australia? The vote is now open.
We've got 119 now. We're too
The
short.
The vote will close in 30 seconds.
Thank you, Andrew. Sorry to disturb you. So if you haven't voted for the first point, please go ahead and do it. We need 2 more. Please do.
The vote will close in 15 seconds. The vote is now closed. The results will be displayed shortly.
Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, so the total possible votes are 119, abstentions 3, valid votes cast 99, votes yes are 93, that's 93.94%, and the votes for no are 6, which equates to 6.06%. Over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed, Andrew. So that's a very good result as well. And I can only thank you for coming to that. Thank you so much. Now, moving forwards, you've seen on this list of appointments proposed by the IWF Executive Board reserve members for the Ethics and Disciplinary Commission in case somebody drops out for some reason. The names are as follows: Ana Maria Montoya, Ruales, Peru; Valerie Horina, Switzerland. We are now open to the floor for any questions. Please raise your hand in Zoom. You better get used to this system because we've got a little way to go, but not long. What is the most recent? 119? We've just heard that we've got 119 votes. We've got 120. We need one more. One more. If you haven't voted, please do. Go to Lumi and do that now.
Nigeria. Okay.
Nigeria? All right. Do you approve?
No.
You see the ratification? That's the vote.
You have one intervention, Mr. President. Nigeria wants the floor.
Please go ahead.
No,
Nigeria has asked for the floor.
Yes.
So we can go to them now. If we can have the question, please.
Hello, good morning, Mr. President. Can you hear me?
Yes, very, very well. Good morning to you.
Yes, good morning. Good morning from Nigeria. Let me thank you for the opportunity to speak at this Congress. My name is Dr. Abdul Ibrahim, and just like you said, I hadn't voted in the first I did not do the first vote, but I want to find out if I will be given the opportunity to vote. Is it possible or not?
What say you?
I'm not sure. Can you repeat your question? I didn't get it. I mean,
it's difficult to understand.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. While the president was making his statement, he said there were 2 more votes that had not been done, and so if you hadn't done the vote, you could. So, and unfortunately, I had network problems at that point in time, and I've gone back to the Lumia platform. The question did not repeat again. I want to find out.
Okay, I think I understand that you are asking whether you can participate now to the vote as you were not present. The vote, this vote is closed.
Due to network issues, yes.
Yeah, on this issue, the vote is closed, so it's too late.
Thank you.
But please stay online because the most important votes, I mean, all the votes are important, but the vote where it is very important that the maximum number of members participate are coming up. If we still miss one member coming up on the platform to be able to vote on the constitutional provision. So please stay with us and take part to the next votes coming up.
Thank you very much. Sorry you may have misinterpreted it, but I'm glad that you clarified the situation. Please go ahead and do that in future if necessary. Right. Thank you all for your comments and questions. Now we hand over to you, Lumi, for the vote. And the last point on our agenda for today is the ratification. We don't do that just yet. We will do that later, I think we've been told. Carry on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The vote is, do you approve the ratification of the appointment of the 2 reserve members of the Ethics and Disciplinary Commission, Ana Maria Montoya Ruales from Peru and Valeri Horina from Switzerland? The voting is open.
This is a reminder to all voting delegates that in order to vote, you must now switch away from Zoom, but do not close Zoom and go to your web browser to the Lumi voting platform. This is the website that you logged into today, and this is where you must cast your vote by clicking on your desired voting selection. If you do not go to the Lumi platform and cast your vote, then no vote will be registered and it will be a blank vote. Thank you.
To reassure those who've asked, Ibrahim, for example, from Sierra Leone, the same selection process for the shortlist was applied to these 2. Just heard the good news, we've got 121. Well done, you guys. You've done it now. You've really done it. You've put it... I'm speechless, and that's rare. That's great. Well done, you guys. There you are.
Voting will close in 30 seconds. Ten seconds. Voting is now closed.
And the results will be displayed shortly. Here we are. Look at that.
Okay, so we have total possible votes 121, abstentions 1, valid votes cast 105. The votes for yes are 104, that is 99.05%. And the votes for no are 1, which is 0.95%.
Fantastic.
Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Dan. And the last point on our agenda for today is the ratification of the Independent Investigative Chamber members, who are the following: Dev Kumar Palmer, United Kingdom; Elda Gyoka, Albania; Adnan Roma, Libya; Romain Bezzini, France; Lorenza Mel, Italy. And we are now open to the floor for any questions. We have to be patient with this one. Tajikistan, we've got one vote, one request, one question. Sit. Okay. Right, we can look at this question from Tajikistan. May we? Please, over to Tajikistan. Please put your question.
We have no question. Resolution.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
How are you, dear colleagues?
Are you asking me personally? I would say I'm pretty average.
We have no question.
How are you as well? Look, we're very,
Yeah,
very
all
nice
fine.
to each
What
other.
about you?
Fine. Look, would you like to put your question, please, to us?
We have no question, dear colleagues.
What is it, sir? You have no question at all? Oh, okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
It was mistake.
It's all right. It's all right. We all make mistakes. I make lots of mistakes. Now we go over to Lumi for the vote, please.
The vote is, do you approve the ratification of the appointment of the 5 members of the Independent Investigative Chamber? These are Dev Kumar Palmer, United Kingdom, Elder Gioka, Albania, Adnan Roma, Libya, Romain Bizzini, France, and Lorenzo Mel, Italy. The voting is now open.
And then we go to the block vote on that.
Amendments. What's he doing? What's he doing?
Voting will close in 30 seconds.
Is the block vote?
Yes, this will be the one. But first, Jean-Pierre will present.
Yeah. But we need, I wanted to say we don't have more than 121. If you haven't voted, well, let's still vote. 121. In case somebody drops out. Reserve it.
Voting will close in 15 seconds.
It's freezing cold.
Voting is now closed.
I'm shivering.
The results will be displayed shortly. So the total possible votes were 121. We have 0 abstentions, and we have valid votes cast 105. The votes for yes are 103, which is 98.1%, and the votes for no are 2, equating to 1.9%. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed, Lumi. Dan. Now, I have to say something. Approval of the proposed changes to the IWF Constitution and Rules is the next agenda item. But first of all, I think we should hear from Jean-Paul Morand the amendments that have been made so that there's no doubt in our minds what we are asking for. Over to you, Jean-Paul.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I would like to congratulate the members to have reached the necessary quorum vote. I mean, it may seem a bit of a struggle to get to that number, but you have to realize that it is indeed a difficult task to assembly to bring together so many members through a process, technical process, and I must say it's very impressive that we have gotten just to the necessary quorum so that we can submit you. It can be submitted to this assembly whether they accept or not the constitutional changes. I had the opportunity to explain what those constitutional changes were. They have one main goal, and one purpose, which is to allow to conduct the electoral process on a safe and orderly basis. We encountered, and this is, I would say, the child malady problem of very ambitious text of your constitution. We encountered some problem which needed clarification. They led to challenges. They led to a situation where the electoral could be blocked. And the opportunity today for the Federation is to overcome this situation and to move forward to essential election. And this is, in a few words, the purpose of the amendments which are submitted to you today. And they concentrate, I insist also, they focus on process. They didn't change any of the objective eligibility criteria which are in the Constitution and which are there to stay. What I propose you is to go through these amendments which have the following process. They introduce and they confirm that there is a possibility to have a fair review process. Can you please put the slide on screen? Okay, no, the previous one, sorry. Just, thank you.
With the bullet points.
With the bullet points, yes.
There we are.
So the three bullet points, the three first bullet points describe the principle of the amendments which are submitted to you today. First of all, as I said, they introduce, and this is the central point, a fair but efficient review process. Both terms are important. It is fair to the candidate, but it is efficient for the process, and it will allow the holding of the electoral process within the planned schedule, that is before mid-year 2022. It's also clarifying one point which needed clarification, is that the deciding body is and must remain the eligibility determination panel, which must make the decision. The eligibility determination panel can still be supported by outside investigators, for example, if they need be, and this is still in the schedule, in the corresponding schedule in the Constitution. But what is now clarified is that the panel must make the decision. Finally, because the Constitution, and this is more a detail, but because the Constitution, existing Constitution, was setting precise and objective dates, which were in 221, some amendments, had some cleaning, if you want, of the dates had to be done, some adjustment of the date had to be done in the Constitution. And the ratification of the Ethics and Disciplinary Commission and the ICC members, which you have done in advance for the reason we explained, was, I would say, the personal side of this resetting of the process, because to conduct that process, it was absolutely needed to have a proper, notably Ethics and Disciplinary Commission, which is at the same time the eligibility determination panel in place to conduct that process efficiently within the few months now, which should lead to the election, should you approve those amendments. Now, I will quickly go through with you the amendments proposed so that you can just have in mind, they were submitted to you, do you know them, but I will just describe them quickly, and then you can make a decision whether they should be approved as a block, because they are indeed an ensemble, which should be either accepted as such or rejected as such. But it's your decision, of course. So if we take the Constitution in, I would say, in the order of the provision, you have first a change in article in Rule 1.8, and this change was made because the Constitution was a little bit rigidly was providing that unless the Constitution itself would provide for a different date, any amendments in the Constitution would only take effect after 3 months, 90 days, 91 days. And this is a bit too rigid because, as you see in this case, and this is valid for further amendments of the Constitution, sometimes it's necessary that an amendment takes immediately effect. And therefore, the amendment is now allowing to, is introducing the principle that unless it is otherwise specified, an amendment to the Constitution becomes immediately force. So this is one important, I would say, rule change, but one very logical and very necessary for the Constitution for this time and for other occasions on which maybe the Constitution will be adapted to a changing environment. In 15.3, it's really only a typo. It doesn't need to be much commented. I mean, there was a clear mistake in the text, and a clear a word was used for another, and this was the occasion to change it. Next one, please. Voilà. In 15.5, the change which appear to be substantial are only to adapt and to permit the conduct of the Congress, of the Electoral Congress, in 222 instead of 221. And again, this is, I would say, a logistical change which does not need much comment. It's a necessary consequence. If you agree to a new process, you have to make sure that the Constitution covers it in the date. Next one, please. In 16.3, 16.4, and you can continue. In 24.4, it's always the same change. That is an adjustment, a pure adjustment of the dates. Can you move on, please? In 26.3, there is first a clarification, which is more a confirmation that the eligibility determination panel is the one constituted as per Rule 37, which refers it to the Ethic and Disciplinary Commission. That is really only a clarification. And then there is another, I would say, clarification, but which is important for the fairness of the process, that because it was not necessarily followed in what happened in the first place, is that any candidate, before a decision is made on his eligibility, shall be given the opportunity to exercise their right to be heard by the eligibility determination panel. It's rather unobvious, but experience shown that it was necessary to clarify this. Next one, please. Yes. 37.4 is the change which refers to what I have mentioned about the fact that the eligibility determination panel shall keep the decision, the final decision, in its hand, and this is achieved by removing the delegation, because the delegation scope was not clarified here, and it was interpreted in the way that the eligibility determination panel could completely delegate its decision-making process to somebody else, and this was not really appropriate in terms of democratic control over the bodies making essential decisions for the federation. I remind you that the eligibility determination panel can still, if it needs be supported by third-party investigators or councils. Finally, the change in schedule, no, not finally, but the change in schedule 11C.10 is the I would say, what I would call the core change, the core amendments of the proposal. It is introducing a review process which in the existing constitution was excluded. This in itself raised challenges under Swiss law, and now rather than being confronted with the confusion and the challenges that is raised, it is better to provide a clear and better and fairer to provide a clear review process in front of the CAS, at the same time making sure that this review process be efficient and quick, and therefore providing expressly that this should be appeal proceedings, if any, conducted on an expedited basis. So it's really a balanced solution, taking into account on the one hand the necessity to be fair to the candidates and have the possibility to say that they do not agree with the decision which concerned them, but then making sure that this will not slow down too much the process, the electoral process, and can be addressed before an electoral process. Can you put back again for the last one? Finally, the last amendments is just to make sure that it is understood that the electoral process in front of the Federation will be restarted on this new basis which would be established by the Constitution if those amendments are approved. It's just to clarify the issue. It's I would say it's a one-time provision in the Constitution which clarifies how the pending electoral process must be approved. And this was also important because you remember when I explained the procedural change, I mean the proposed change, I explained you that there were pending procedure, and those pending proceedings will now be completely addressed and removed by this Constitution, because the people concerned will have the opportunity to resubmit or not. That's their decision, their candidacy, and a new decision will be made. And for that new decision, now the Constitution is providing a solution, a review solution, as described, as I just described. Here are all the specific changes which are proposed to you today. You are in a special Congress, and the special Congress, I insist here, has a special purpose. And this special purpose was really to submit those constitutional changes. As some of you know, some federations thought that they could propose other constitutional changes. These could not be accepted by for this special Congress because they were not fulfilling then the submission requirement, which are high for members outside of an ordinary Congress, and which requires 75% of the members subscribing for applying for a constitution. Sorry, I am influenced by the figures today. 20% of the members submitting their own proposal, and then it becomes a specific special Congress if they reach that hurdle, which was not the case. Proposals were received from only 4 members, therefore they cannot be, as per your Constitution, submitted to this Congress. Voilà. Regarding the block vote, you will now make a decision on block vote or not block vote. This decision is made by simple majority. I would highly recommend that you accept a block vote because, as you saw, all those amendments are amendments for one single purpose, and they belong together. You could not, for example, accept the new process and then still provide in the Constitution that the election which did not take place in 2021 would not take place in 2022. So there is a kind of necessary link with all these provisions. Therefore, I would recommend that you accept the block vote, but of course it's your decision. Otherwise, we will go, I mean, the vote will go provision by provision, and we will conduct that vote. So this is the end of my presentation, and I hand back to the president. I am open to questions, of course, first, and once we will have addressed the question, then you can move to the vote on those. First, on the principle whether you accept the block vote, and then depending on your decision on that point, on the merits of the content of the proposals for the change in the Constitution. I thank you, and again, I stay at disposal for any question.
Well, that's a tremendous tour de force of the changes that have been made, and I hope they made the situation a little bit more clear for all concerned. The important thing here is that this is a special Congress. It's something which is quite unique for us in a way, and it's very important that we held it as soon as we could, and this is the soonest we could. The other thing that I want to bring to your notice is that you are in an extremely powerful but also vulnerable position, because weightlifting is vulnerable at the moment. As you know, the changes that have been mooted by the IOC, because there are so many other sports waiting to get in to the Olympics. So we need to be secure. We need to have a good package, a good system by which we're operating. And the one thing that was really at fault in the old days was the fact that our governance was weak, and this has strengthened our governance, and we've also improved the communication thereafter if somebody has a question or a comment that they need answering. So, the block vote. Block vote
Maybe
is
the
coming.
comments.
Yes, is coming imminently, I was going to say. But until then, we're open to any questions that you have. So please, Lumi, would you like to take over?
No, not
Oh,
yet.
it's not Lumi, not yet. Right, we have an intervention from Russia to answer, to handle. So, is Agapitov there online? Okay. Yes. So we're waiting for...
Yes, colleagues.
Thank you, Maxim. This is Mr. Agapitov.
Hello again, everyone. I'm so happy that we have the numbers of country, and we can make any decision we will be proposed and thinking about. I just want to return to my proposal. I'm right now on the way to the airport, and the Wi-Fi is not stable here. I just ask him to give the floor to another delegate from Russia, to Artem Patsev, please. He will say what I would like to say.
What do you want?
Do you passing the floor now to Artem?
Just a second, we have to switch.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We'll turn on the video. Okay.
Hello.
Thank you. Hello. Hello, dear friends and colleagues. I will speak on behalf of Mr. Maxim Agapitov, who is the president of the Russian Weightlifting Federation and who is the voting delegate of the Special Congress. Dear colleagues, dear friends, dear members of our weightlifting community, the Russian Weightlifting Federation would like to raise here a very important question regarding the amendments to the IWF Constitution. So we would like to say some words on the central issue of our Special Congress today. Some general remarks. First, it was totally surprising and disappointing to see that the IWF email of 16th January 2022 to all of you, full member federations, did not include the suggestions duly and due time sent to the IWF by the Russian Weightlifting Federation in regard of Article 13.12 of the IWF Constitution, containing inter alia both the proposal on the amendment of these articles text and the rationale therefore. These suggestions have not been included into the file named IWF Constitution Amendments, and therefore the proposal duly made by the IWF Member Federation, full Member Federation, Russian Weightlifting Federation, according to the Article 42.3 of the IWF Constitution in regard of a special Congress, which is the case here today, was not listed or mentioned in the materials for the point 3 of the agenda, which is approval of the proposed changes to the IWF Constitution and rules. By the way, these proposals have been sent to the IWF twice by the Russian Weightlifting Federation on 8 December 2021 and on 12 January 2022. What is even worse is that the same proposal has been duly sent in due time as well to the IWF by some other full member federations, including Kazakhstan and Turkey, and some others, and those have been totally ignored by the IWF too. It is undisputable, and one cannot seriously dispute, that it is a clear attempt to deprive all of you, all full member federations, of your essential right to be informed beforehand on the entirety of the materials for the upcoming Congress, let alone the right of a particular full member federation to have its proposal be included into the agenda for a wide discussion by the weightlifting community, because such a right is ensured by Article 42.3 of the IWF Constitution. Such a blatant violation of the newly adopted IWF Constitution will not remain unnoticed, and the Russian Weightlifting Federation intends to protect the members' federation, all of your constitutional rights in full, including the resort to the IOC's assistance and judicial protection by the Swiss court system. We have some troubles in understanding why the IWF management still hesitates to publish on its website the information regarding a claim against the IWF, which has been filed with the Lausanne Cantonal Court based on the direct violations of the Swiss law by Article 13.12 and the way IWF applies it, and the case is still pending its resolution. The Russian Weightlifting Federation respectfully requested the IWF management to include the missing proposals into the materials for this special Congress, for your kind attention. However, this request was also denied, as the IWF somehow decided that Article 42.3 of the Constitution does not apply, as Mr. Moran has just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. It is our opinion, and the opinion of the Swiss legal professionals who are in charge of the claim filed in Lausanne, that the grounds raised by the IWF denying our request are totally baseless, since the proposed amendments squarely fall within the scope of this special Congress, setting out the requirements for eligibility for those who will want to be elected in the future. We suppose it will be finally for the Swiss court to decide who is right and who is wrong here. Anyway, it is absolutely clear, so we would like to remind all of you, dear delegates of the full member federations, that no vote can be taken on the proposed changes because there was a serious flaw in the process. That being said, and given that it has been a long-standing position of the Russian Weightlifting Federation and Mr. Maxim Agapitov's personal position to be always transparent and honest with everyone, we would like to raise a formal complaint about this issue. So we hereby respectfully request to include this formal complaint into the minutes of this special Congress. Of course, I'm ready to send immediately the text of this speech to the chairman of the Congress, Mr. Interim President, Dr. Irani, for his convenience and for convenience of those who will draft the minutes of this special Congress. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Not at all. Thank you for your point. I'm going to hand, this is a legal point, heavy legal point. I'm going to hand you over to our legal expert. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Artyom. I mean, I mentioned in my introductory speech that 4 members, including Russia in this case, had made a proposal for amendments of provisions whose amendments was not considered and applied for by the IWF board when they called this special meeting. And special Congress are not named special Congress for nothing. They have a special purpose which is defined by the party who is calling it. In this case, the IWF board called the special Congress to approve specific amendments looking at specifically the process of the electoral elections, and specifically not at the merits. Now, if members, one or a few members, want to propose constitutional amendments, the Constitution is very clear on how this must happen. It must happen through a proposal lodged on the occasion of an ordinary Congress, and in that case, an individual member can make a proposal, has the right to make a proposal, is entitled to make a proposal individually. Outside of an ordinary Congress, and when the proposal is done by a special Congress, the requirement for a special Congress must be made. And this is specified in Article 42.3, which my dear colleague Artem is mentioning, which refers to Article 15.6. And Article 15.6 says that an application by member for a special Congress and for a decision he wants to get in a special Congress must be supported by 20% of the members. You cannot simply, any member has not the right to submit and propose a constitutional change, which is a major step for the Federation, at any time when he would like to do it. And the fact that there has been a special Congress called for, with a specific purpose, with a specific agenda, does not suddenly open the floor to any amendments, including amendments which would be more or less linked with the topic for what it has been called by the IWF board. Only the IWF board defines the purpose, because a special Congress is defined by the fact that it is called for a purpose. And the purpose of this Congress was twofold: to approve the amendments submitted by the boards, and only those ones, and not to open a full revision of the Constitution, specifically not, by the way. And secondly, to proceed with the ratifications. This did not open the possibility of a member to submit 14 days in advance of a Congress a proposal that he could only make individually 4 months in advance of the ordinary Congress, or together with at least 20% of the members, and you realize that 5 members, actually it was 5 members acting together, do not represent that quota. Accordingly, the proposal made by Russia and other federations could simply not be submitted to this Congress because it does not belong to it. And the IWF board confirmed that decision, which was an obvious one, on Friday in decisions which were communicated to the concerned federation. And this should not be a surprise to any member reading correctly the Constitution, which is the basic text of the of this federation, and it's very clear, very clear that an individual member cannot request to put in the agenda suddenly on the occasion of another special meeting something that he could not do, subject to fulfilling the conditions of the Constitution. And I would invite the concerned members, if they think that this amendment is adequate, and I'm not discussing, there is no discussion about adequacy or not of the proposed amendments, to follow the constitutional requirements to do that. Again, they can do that either on the occasion of the next Congress, and then it can be submitted, an ordinary Congress, and then it can be made as an individual request, provided the 4 months deadline is respected, or they can gather 20% of the members to support a motion to change the Constitution, which should then be addressed in a special Congress, which would be a different one. This is the answer which was given to the applicant members, and it was the only possible answer to be given to that request. Regarding the mention in the minutes of the intervention of Mr. Patsev, I think this is unproblematic. It's normal. The intervention will be noted. It has no further consequence, in my view, than just being a note in the minutes of this meeting. Thank you.
Phew. Thank you again, Jean-Pierre. I hope this answers a few questions, but if not, you're welcome to contact us again for more clarification or whatever evidentiary proof that you need for that. Now, the important thing, we need your vote. And we hand over to you, Lumi, for this
For the
vote.
block vote, right?
The block vote, this is the mass vote. This matters. This really matters. I can't tell you enough. Please do so with confidence, knowing that you've got 120 other guys and girls supporting you. Let's do it. Let's show that we may be truculent children, but when it comes to it, we bring out the goods. Come on, let's do it. Right, over to you, Lumi. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we open this next vote, I'd just like to take the opportunity to remind everyone here today how to cast your vote. As it's been alluded to, it's very important that you're able to do so. So you did receive an email from IWF@lumiglobal.com. So if you are a voting delegate and you received this email, in a few moments we are going to ask you to change to the Lumi voting platform. This is the website. At the moment, it will show the IWF logo. But once the vote does appear, you simply just need to click on your desired voting selection. The voting does not take place in Zoom. You need to switch to the Lumi platform.
I want to see how they go.
So with that being said, I'm now going to hand you over to our public notary and the voting will commence.
Andrew?
So the vote is, do you approve to have a block vote on the proposed changes to the IWF Constitution and rules?
Yes.
The vote is now open.
Yeah, but I hope they are still 121.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, but
How we
just to make sure. Okay.
We've heard that there are 122 people who have logged in, but what I'm saying is don't leave it to the wire. We need 121, at least 122 would be safer. Come on, please put your vote in. We really do need this. We really need you now. And as much as we have tried to help you, you've got to help us now. You are us.
This is just a reminder that the vote is currently open on the block vote. In order to cast your vote, you must navigate to the Lumi voting platform. So you would have received the email from Lumi and logged into the website. If you are a voting delegate, the vote will now appear on your web browser. So we're just going to allow a little bit of extra time here.
Thank you, Dan. Dan, could you just read out the address that they have to click onto to access the voting site?
Yes, of course.
Again.
So I'm going to type it in the chat as well for everyone's benefit.
Thank you.
The address is web.lumiagm.com. Once you reach this address, you will be asked to insert the meeting ID, which takes you to this special Congress, and then insert your unique username and password that was provided to you over email. So all of this information can be found in the email you were sent as the voting delegates. So we're going to give you an extra 2 minutes or so to cast your vote, and we'll give you an update shortly.
Remember, you're also representing all your members within your federation and the responsibilities that we bear for them as well. So there's a big weight on our shoulders here today. No. Tell him no.
Voting will close in 30 seconds.
Thank you, Andrew.
You have to remind that on the next vote, if they approve, you have a special majority of 75.
You do it.
Okay.
Voting will close in 10 seconds. Voting has now closed. The results will be displayed shortly.
No. If they approve,
So the total possible votes are 122, abstentions 1, valid votes cast 108, the votes for yes are 103, which is 95.37%, votes for no are 5, which is 4.63%. Back to you, Mr. President.
I can't hear. He's going to do it. Well, that's very reassuring. Thank you very much indeed. Now I'm going to hand you over to Jean-Pierre to work out the logic distribution of what we've just seen. So Jean-Pierre, would you like to say what we discussed?
First of all, I would like to thank the members to have followed the recommendation to move to a block vote.
Amen.
I think this was a very appropriate decision. And now we move to this block vote, reminding you that this is a vote where a 75% majority of the vote must be achieved for the proposal to be approved. So
you put it back on again.
And so with that, I think I have presented the amendments, I presented the contents, and unless there is, maybe we can give the floor again to for any intervention, but on the content, normally we have closed the discussion. So unless, Lila, we have requests, so it seems we have no requests, so I would suggest, I would hand over to Lumi to conduct that vote, which is the key vote that you had to address today. And again, congratulations to be 122 united from all over the world to take part to this vote, because that is an important vote for the Federation.
Tremendous. And now we are aiming for 75, is it?
75 majority.
75 majority.
Yes.
So come on, let's do it. We're nearly there. We're so nearly there. And let's make a name for ourselves by doing it right. Let's do it.
Lumi, you can proceed. Thank you. To the block vote.
Thank you. The vote is, do you approve the proposed changes to the IWF Constitution and rules included in the material which was provided to IWF member federations on 15 January 2020?
And Jean-Pierre just discussed with you in more detail.
And the voting is now open.
Thank you, Dan. heating on, I'm shivering. Put heating on, it's freezing cold in here. The heating, yes, it's very, my hands are freezing. Go. Go.
The voting will close in 1 minute.
Yes. No reason why not. It will not.
The vote will close in 30 seconds.
Abstention do not count. Abstention do not count.
Voting will close in 10 seconds.
Vote.
111 voted.
The vote is now closed. Results will be displayed shortly.
Present. I mean, we have to take the present because.
So total possible votes are 123, abstentions 0, valid votes cast 111. The votes for yes are 107, which is 96.4%. The votes for no are 4, which is 3.6%. Back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dan. Well, we've nearly done it, haven't we? Or let's find out.
Yes, Mr. President, this result is very satisfactory. You need 75% of the votes. We have 123 delegates attending, which makes a valid quorum. We have a valid quorum and a valid majority for the constitutional change.
Results.
The results are, I mean, the results were shown.
Yeah, I know, I'm going to show them again.
Yeah. Can you show, Lumi, can you show the results? So the approval rate, because abstention do not count in our abstention and blank vote do not count.
Yeah.
So it's 96%, over 96% of approval. I think the IWF board can be satisfied that he is backed by the member in the way forward. Paraphrasing Churchill, this is not the end. This is not even the beginning of the end, but this is maybe the end of the beginning and the first very important step towards a successful electoral process which cannot be started with a good constitution which gives fair and efficient process, with also the bodies ratified in place and ready to, and therefore capable of handling the process without, I hope, too many challenges. If challenges come, the IWF will face them as it did in the past. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you guys, all of you. I have to say this now. Dear Presidents, dear Secretaries General, dear colleagues, dear friends, let me be the first or the second to thank you for your today's decisions. You've been brilliant, and for those that preceded them, all of which have led us to this point, We've arrived here because you've made it happen. We've come a long way. But let us not forget, let us just remember this, that as we go through our nominations and eligibility process in the months leading up to our elections in June, the eyes of the world will be upon us. They will be on us now. In December, the IOC, which had already cut our athletes' quota for Paris to 2024 Olympics, announced that weightlifting has been conditionally removed from the LA Games in 2028. The IWF and its future leadership, this is the quote from Thomas Bach, must demonstrate its transition towards compliance and effective change in culture. The changes we've made are important. They and approved today, we help to set out a roadmap to guarantee the compliance and culture changes that the IOC is seeking. So we have made changes. Dear friends, listen to this. This is so from my heart. Whatever your position with respect to the present IWF Executive Board, you can help. Culture change is revealed by what we say and what we do. I humbly ask you to ensure that throughout the activities and debate of the coming months, you always act and speak constructively and with positivity. When we heard from Fiji, they were asking something which was like a suggestion, which was well received and will be acted upon. And that's the way to do it when we're in a special group. Only then will weightlifting be in a position to win its place back on the Los Angeles program. That's our absolute priority. First of all, make Paris secure, no more positive tests, no more arguing and sending vitriolic letters in the post to various sites. Only then can the problem child become a functional adult. Thank you so much. And before I finish, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Jaloud, our General Secretary, who has not been able to be here, but I'm sure he's been following very intently, to close this special Congress. So over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mike. First, I would like to thank all the country attend in this special meeting. Also, this show us we are working very united. We need to clean our sport. And with this voting, I think a majority of the country will same direction. Now, regarding the doping, we do a lot for doping, but now we need to reach the end of this step. We need to reach the date of election, and we will show to IOC how our Congress, how the all federation choose the best to lead weightlifting.
Inshallah.
Many thanks. I hope in future, near future, to can attend the meeting is personal, because here in this meeting, many countries with internet cannot enter, in Africa, some in Arabic or Oceania, they have a problem with internet. And I hope the COVID-19 will finish and we can meet together in next election by personal. And this is very good for all of us. Each one can present his opinion in the meeting. I would like again to thanks all. Thanks Dr. Mike to lead, and I thanks Jean-Pierre to help us too much in this Congress. I hope all my family in weightlifting stay safe. Thank you a lot for this support, and thank you a lot to build weightlifting together. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you very much indeed. The important thing I've got to say is when you go out of here, you will just take this with you. You've made it happen. You belong to us. We belong to you. And you've really, really done the job today. God bless you all. And I hope you have a quiet and peaceful day. Now, thank you. Well done.
Thank you.